Well, hello, everybody. Thank you for having me. As Heather mentioned, my name is Kate Lynch. I am a lead library software engineer for research data and scholarship services at Princeton University Library. Today, I'm going to provide a brief update on the formation and the work of the Samvera Accessibility Working Group. First, a little bit about us. We are 7 folks from 7 organizations. So that's me, Robin Regaber, John Cameron, Nick Homenda, Margaret Mellinger, Rebecca Cotti, and Christine Peterson. The idea for this group came from discussions at the Spring 2024 Samvera Partners meeting around providing tools for a standardized approach to our existing commitment to web accessibility in the Samvera community within each project, as well as various other working groups within Samvera. So from there, Robin and I drafted a charter with some proposed goals, which I will share about in a moment. This was reviewed by the Samvera board. We started a Slack channel in July and began meeting as a working group in February. To give you a sense of what we're doing and how it differs from, but hopefully supports accessibility-related efforts throughout the community, here's a little info about our scope and objectives. So it comes from our charter, which is linked in the slide as well in full, that the Samvera community values accessibility and works to make all applications meet accessibility best practices. However, applications are not currently tested against WCAG standards and do not have a VPAT. The Samvera Community Partnership decided Samvera applications should meet WCAG standards, and each application should have a VPAT and/or accessibility roadmap. Samvera community members with knowledge of the code bases have called for the accessibility requirements to be baked into the processes of development, testing, and deployment. So these objectives have translated into the following goals for this working group. We seek to establish bare-bones VPATs, or product accessibility documentation that indicates the level of accessibility of the product, for the 3 Samvera softwares, Hyrax, Haiku, and Avalon. So it is important to us that we had representation around each of these products within our group. We also seek to study the community's software development, testing, and release practices so that we can document ways in which accessibility is successfully taken into consideration through each of these practices currently, and where there may be any gaps that need to be addressed around accessibility best practices in each of these workflows in the future. We're also going to be creating a publicly available accessibility roadmap for either Haiku, Hyrax, or Avalon. We're not going to try to do all 3. We're going to pick one to work on based on a vote within the group, factoring in who we regularly have on the calls to help us put the most informed position to do that. And once we've done our work there, charge the other software solutions to develop accessibility roadmaps based on the process. And finally, we intend to document how we did all of this in the form of a set of recommendations for how to create and maintain a VPAT and an accessibility roadmap so that other Samvera softwares can take advantage of the groundwork laid by this group to accurately indicate our commitment to accessibility and our plans for accessibility improvements and how to address future improvements in the software. So this is obviously a lot to do. And we've only just started meeting, so here's what we've done so far. We sent out an announcement to partners in March 2025, just letting folks know that we exist and what our intentions are, what we're going to be trying to do. We have begun conducting a review of existing VPAT documentation that exists for Hyrax, Haiku, and Avalon so that we can create documentation where it doesn't exist and can standardize what does and take advantage of what does already exist. And part of that work has led us to, with Heather Greer-Klein's help, work to set up dedicated Samvera email addresses that can be listed as contacts on VPATs that can go to appropriate individuals in the community but are not tethered to one specific person who may rotate off a project or leave the community, and therefore make it harder for somebody to get in touch based on the VPAT if accessibility requests come through that way. Members of our group have also begun an environmental scan of VPAT templates and accessibility commitment statements outside of the Samvera community to help us know what's out there, examining how accessibility-related issues are currently triaged in development workflows within a few Samvera GitHub repositories and sprints. And most recently, we had a very informative discussion with Mary Albert, the Director of Digital Accessibility at Princeton, local connection, to learn more from an expert stakeholder whose perspective is what sort of content goes into a VPAT and a roadmap that would make them understandable and genuinely useful to an institution that is evaluating software for accessibility when considering whether or not to adopt it. Next up, we are going to continue iterating on the VPAT drafts and documentation that we're doing and just document the process. We're going to determine as a group where to start an accessibility roadmap for one Samvera software, and we're also going to be digging much deeper into how accessibility-related work is integrated into various Samvera software development workflows and best practices. So that's my update. Thank you very much for listening. If you have any questions or you would like to join us in our work, there's some information here, or you can feel free to reach out to me directly at my email address there. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing. Thank you.
Thanks, Kate. Oh, great question from Julie. Absolutely, we could have a roadmap alignment group representation from this working group. I think particularly if this working group is one that is likely to transition into an interest group. So working groups tend to be very focused on particular goals and then they end, whereas an interest group would be ongoing, and that seems likely. So I think we could definitely make sure that representation is there. Accessibility is in our top 3 roadmap goals across all the platforms.
I'll putting in the chat. I'll bring that up with the accessibility group to see who might have the time to do that. We're actually meeting later today, so I'll bring it up
Oh,
then.
awesome. All right. Next up, I'll hand it off to Kai for the documentation interest group.
Alrighty. Can everybody see the slides?
Looks great.
Cool, thank you. All right. Hello, my name is Kai Stroud, and I'll be giving the update for the documentation interest group. So we are a pretty new group. We just started in last September, so I think a little over 6 months old at this point. And here are our members, but since we're an interest group, anyone and everyone is welcome to show up whenever they would like, and whether it's just for one meeting or if they want to come back on a regular basis. And I'll have more details about when exactly we meet and where on the last slide. But the objectives of our group are to identify documentation that either just doesn't exist or is out of date or difficult to find, document the needs for documentation on a GitHub project board, communicate open issues with the community so that folks can help address them, and also collaborate with the community during events like the developer congresses, community sprints, etc., to address documentation needs. And specifically related to the last point, we have a documentation sprint that's actually taking place next week, which Julie Hardesty talked about earlier. And this is a sprint that'll be helping improve all kinds of documentation throughout the Samvera community. Julie already touched on a lot of key points to this sprint, so I'll try to keep it brief, but I think it's also worth noting that the tickets on the board, we're putting in efforts to make sure that the barrier to entry is as low as possible. So whether you're a developer or whether you're just an end user, the tasks should be filterable by what you can contribute, and also if you have knowledge in particular areas like Valkyrie, for example, if you're one of the devs who helped on that project, you should be able to filter by documentation needs for Valkyrie, for example. And you can put in as little or as much time as you would like next week. There's no hard time commitments. There's a Google form linked in this slide, and also that I'll put in the Events Connect channel in Slack. And also wanted to mention that this board is active and live all the time. So even though we do have a community sprint next week, anyone can add tickets. Before or after that, anyone could pick up one of these tasks and work on it at any time. Doesn't have to be during community sprints. So we meet on the third Tuesday every month at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. We're working in the documentation Slack channel, and there are some links in the slide deck to various resources related to the group. If you're interested, please come check us out, and if you're able to contribute to the documentation sprint, whether that's trying to work on tickets or even just reporting issues or documentation needs that you have. All forms of contributions are welcome. Thank you.
Thanks, Kai. And our last update will come from James Griffin. James, if you're
I'm so
speaking.
sorry that, yeah, my apologies. I didn't realize I was muted.
No worries.
Hello, everyone. My name is James Griffin. My pronouns are he, him, his. I'm a library software engineer with the Princeton University Library, and today I'm going to be providing a brief update on the GitHub processes and permissions working group. So to start, the chair for the working group is Kate Lynch, also of Princeton University Library. We have our meetings scheduled to be held bi-weekly at 2 p.m. Every Monday. We have a dedicated Slack channel, which is open, and we invite anyone and everyone to please join who might be interested. I also have a link on the slides to the wiki providing the actual charter. And for our current membership, we have Sheena Moore of Notch 8, Heather of the Sunbarrett community, Chris Colbert of Indiana University, and Daniel Pierce of Indiana University as well. So a bit more about the actual scope and proposed deliverables for the working group. Essentially, we're looking to identify and call attention to long-standing pull requests and issues on GitHub repositories throughout the Samvera organization. Essentially, there are a number of long-standing pull requests and issues that might be 1 or more years old, and we're looking to basically try and ensure that none of these might be blocking issues for core Haiku and Hyrax developers, as well as for anyone who might be consuming the gems downstream from within the community. In addition to this, we also aim to structure and propose a rubric for identifying core components, which may need to be deprecated. Essentially, there are a number of core components, GitHub repositories right now that might not be actively used outside of Hyrax development, and trying to identify those that aren't being actively used for non-Hyrax Samvera repositories is a goal of this working group. Proposing Ruby gems and GitHub authorization policies for onboarding and offboarding Samvera community members. Essentially for the Samvera GitHub organizations, there are a number of members who may require additional permissions in order to undertake certain actions when it comes to managing, say, the settings on GitHub repositories, and just ensuring that that becomes more efficient and streamlined for the purposes of just administration for everyone in Samvera would be our ideal. And finally, undertaking an audit for evaluating the existing GitHub organization and team membership, just basically ensuring that everyone who happens to be a member of the admin and contributors teams, that they're still actively contributing, and if not, just trying to contact them and see where their status in the community stands. Topics of potential interest, also just getting a sense for how many GitHub project repositories are being actively used outside of Hyrax, Haiku, and the Avalon media system. As some are aware, it is definitely possible to implement a Samvera repository using Valkyrie and other core components from the Samvera community, and just getting a sense for how many of these repositories are actively used for these some customized Samvera repositories would be of great value. Getting a sense for how the, given that GitHub team authorizations have improved, there have been a number of feature improvements made to GitHub itself during the past number of recent years. How can we use these more effectively? Perhaps there are more granular authorizations now that could be more powerfully leveraged to our advantage. aside from Ruby gems, what else depends upon GitHub authorizations? I have heard in past meetings so far that there are authorizations at the GitHub level which affect the ability to run continuous integration for automated test builds, specifically for GitHub Actions. Getting a sense for what might be affected by changing GitHub authorizations is going to be essential to move forward. And pretty much really of a very high importance for all of us here is seeing how we can improve the developer experience for Hyrax and Haiku contributors, really ensuring that no one is going to be blocked by anything unnecessarily, and doing what we can to kind of alleviate the burden on those who are contributing to these open source projects is fundamental. Given that this is a newer group, we please ask you to freely join us on the Samvera community Slack in this channel. Please note that anyone and everyone is welcome to join. No experience is required, and just asking questions or proposing ideas and even attending Zoom meetings does not require commitments of any kind. You do not automatically join and become a member if you simply engage with any of us. We welcome feedback and guidance, please. That's why this group was chartered. And most importantly, just out of curiosity, if anyone has developed utilities or standalone scripts to automate working with GitHub repositories or entire organizations using the GitHub web APIs. GitHub offers REST and GraphQL APIs. We please invite you to share these with us, just because any and all guidance when it comes to how to work with the GitHub web APIs would be most welcome and very valuable. And we would love to be able to cite you and cite the work that you've made in terms of contributing to the work that we're trying to achieve. So thank you very much. And please, again, we welcome anyone and everyone to join us on Slack and our meetings on Zoom.